if I had to say to anyone out there, I wouldn't worry if you haven't got a job in art right now, but you're planning on having to. The job you have will serve you in some way in the future. If you're planning on having your own business or Etsy store, it definitely will help in the future. So, yeah.
Hello, art friends, and welcome back to the Art Journey podcast. How are you doing today? I'm so excited because this is the second episode, like officially. I've told people about the podcast. There's already, people out there listening. And just welcome and thank you so much for being here today. I'm really, really excited about today's episode because I got to interview one of my favorite Instagram artists. Her name is Catherine, but you might know her by Katnipp Illustrations. She's this really sweet artist from England. Her work has been featured on websites such as BuzzFeed and Nerdist, so you've probably seen some of her work. She specializes in like this really, really cute pastel soft style. She does a lot of relatable pastel comics that are really funny about like her everyday life. And after talking to her here on the podcast, you are going to love her as a person. She's super sweet. She's super encouraging and inspiring. And hey, if you like her stuff here, she has a YouTube channel, guys, with all these sweet vlogs about her everyday life as an artist. So I know if by now you're as excited as I am, you want me to stop blabbing in the intro, and you know what? Yes, I agree. So come on and let's give a warm welcome to Catherine from Katnipp Illustrations. How are you doing today?
I'm good, thank you. Thanks for having me on your show. I'm really honoured that you chose to contact me and have me on.
I've been such a big fan of your work since I think I first stumbled on your illustrations on BuzzFeed, and I loved how relatable your comics were and the fact that they were all pink, because anyone that knows me, like my aesthetic is everything pink.
Yeah,
I mean, I even have pink hair.
Yeah. I went through a stage of having pink hair too, but it was a little bit too hard to upkeep, so that's gone now.
Oh yeah, it definitely is hard to upkeep. I have currently pink hair that fades to purple and blue along with a hidden rainbow on my right side, and it is
sounds amazing.
it looks great. When I have to wash it out in the shower, it's a doozy. So, why don't we get this started off with the very beginning of your journey? All of us artists seem to have in common that when we were kids, we loved drawing, we liked coloring. Was that the same for you?
So we're going way, way back, are we?
Yeah.
Yeah, it definitely started when I was really, really young. There's actually a photo of me, and I must be about 3 or 4 years old. And I got for Christmas a drawing desk, and it was this little plastic drawing desk thing that was red and yellow. And I'm sat there with like little pigtails in or something, and I'm drawing then. And I think I always ask for things like art sets. I used to get these plastic art sets here in the UK. I used to open them out, and they had like everything in them. They had pastels. They were terrible, but they were great if you were a kid. And yeah, I've always liked it. It's really strange, that, isn't it? Because in hindsight, you don't think anything of it. You just enjoy what you enjoy. But yeah, definitely started right at the very beginning when I was a little kid, and then I discovered digital art around about 11 years old is when I discovered digital art, and that's how the shift began and how it all began, really.
Yeah, that's really nice. Also remember those little art sets. I feel like I used to get them every Christmas when I was a kid.
Yeah, they were always, every single Christmas I used to get them. I'm a little bit sad I don't get them now, but I think the art sets that I would want now would be a lot more expensive than those ones, but never mind.
Yes, I can totally relate. And so I'm guessing when you discovered digital art, would you say that might be around the time when you decided, okay, I need to start taking art seriously. This is what I'm going to do? or when did that happen for you?
Hmm. See, no, not really. So when I discovered digital art, it was more a hobby. So it came from like in anime. I used to love anime and manga. I still do. I still regularly consume anime and manga like crazy. But it was kind of that world and kind of the online world. Like I used to do a lot of gaming and stuff. And back then, deviant art was a really big thing, but very nichey. No, none of my friends knew even what it was, to be honest. And that's how I kind of started. And it was just a hobby at first. And I never believed I could really become an artist as a full time job and a real career path. A lot of people used to say to me, "Oh, you'll have to look at proper jobs." And I used to want to be an illustrator, but I used to want to be a children's book illustrator, should I say. But a lot of people told me how hard it was to get into and kind of they probably didn't mean to, but they kind of put me off it. They made me think that it was totally unachievable and that only five people in the whole world could ever be illustrators at one time. And do you know things like that? So I then started to look into different art career paths, and that's how I went to university to do graphic design and slowly found social media obviously got bigger and bigger as I got older. It wasn't a thing when I was younger. And I was inspired by all these other different illustrators like on YouTube, like Fran Nerd. And in fact, only about 3 or 4 years ago did I decide to take illustration seriously. So I actually got a job as a full-time graphic designer after my degree. I was also working in like a receptionist job and things like that. And during this time, I started planning my exit and creating my own career path through reading inspirational stories like how to quit your day job through Etsy and stuff like that. And I decided to create my own path. And just since then, I've just been on the journey to creating a life that I really, really want to live and surrounding myself by cute pastel stuff. And that's what I've basically been doing. So I only really started taking art seriously about 3 years ago, which is might be shocking to some, but I have always had art in my life throughout being a very, very young kid. So, yeah.
Yeah, that's actually very inspiring because I feel like what you usually hear from people is you that people started taking it seriously when they were like in their teens, and you see it a lot right now like on Instagram with these teenagers that have these crazy amazing
Yeah, really.
pieces of art,
Yeah.
and you like look at it and you're like, "Oh my god, when I was that age, I was definitely not creating stuff like that."
Yeah, I totally, totally agree. When I was a teenager, I was definitely posting to DeviantArt, and I actually did a video on my YouTube channel about me looking back on those old photos. But I never really took it seriously like them. I have so many people reach out to me now who are teenagers, so young, and they've got an Etsy store and they're selling, the hustling, and I'm like, wow, that is crazy. Honestly, even in my early 20s, I didn't even dream of doing anything like that. I started going out and partying. I had friends, a social life. So it only really started when I was around 23, 24. I would say I'm 27 now, is when I started really taking it seriously and thinking, hey, right, I really want to do this. Let's try and make a career out of this. Because I just didn't think it was possible. I was told my whole life that it was unachievable. I'm from a really small northeast town in England, and there wasn't really many people around here who I knew who had those kind of creative jobs. In fact, there was no one I knew. I couldn't think off the top of my head anyone who had a job in the creative field. The only people I did know was people who like moved to London or, like a big city like Manchester, but there was definitely nothing around here. But with social media and e-commerce and the ability to reach out to the whole world, I thought it is possible. It's totally possible now. So it's amazing, really, what social media can do, I think, now.
Totally. I feel like it's totally changed everything. And so going back, I think I heard you say, did you attend school for an art degree?
It wasn't an, I don't know if this would be classed as an art degree. It was graphic design, is what I did. So in college, I did art and design, and then I moved on to university and I did graphic design in university. I knew fine art wasn't for me, and there wasn't really any illustration courses near me. And I always had it in my head that graphic design was what I was going to do because there was more jobs available, like logos. I could go into things like that. It was a lot more versatile in terms of getting employment around this area. So
Mm-hmm.
that's what I went to do at university. It was graphic design.
Yeah, that totally counts as an art degree. And what was your experience like in getting that degree? Like, did do you feel like you learned some crucial skills back then that you're using now that you did achieve a career in art?
Oh, I don't. I wasn't the best student at university.
Mm-hmm.
I kind of flopped in my final year when I realised it wasn't what I wanted to do. I don't know. I kind of lost my passion. I feel like I lost my way in my final year, and I had it set that I was going to teach English in Japan, and I was going to move over there, and I was going to teach English and do all this crazy
Wow.
stuff. But then I ended up meeting my fiance, and that kind of went to the side. I fell in love, basically. And then a new life started, which I wouldn't change for the world because I wouldn't be here today. But my degree just, I did learn some skills, but I feel like I could have learnt those skills elsewhere, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm.
Like I learned a lot more through self-teaching. So I already knew Photoshop. I already knew all of that through stuff that I'd learned online, through tutorials, later on YouTube videos, but the YouTube videos weren't available then, through self-experimentation during my teenage years. Now, had I went to university without doing that, maybe I would have learned a lot more. But I think because of the self kind of teaching I'd done in my teenage years, I felt like the technical side of university I didn't really learn much on. The thing that I think that did help me at university was how to present a portfolio to a client. That helped.
Mm-hmm.
Um, but I still feel like those lessons can be learned elsewhere. You don't need to spend thousands of pounds to learn it. But I'm not putting people off having an education because not everyone is self-disciplined in the sense of self-teaching. They need a teacher to kind of help them. Whereas I'm kind of the opposite. I kind of switch off and just ended up doodling in a lot of my classes. I wasn't the best student, basically. So I don't know. I think I'm 50-50 on that, I would say. I want to be careful
Yeah.
what I say, really, because I don't want to put people off education because I still educated myself, if that makes sense.
Mm-hmm. No, and it's totally valid that because if you really hear a lot of people that want to get into art, most of them are convinced that they absolutely need that art degree. And I think we need more people saying, like, education is important. You should still strive to get educated, but find the way that works for you.
Yeah.
If like you said, if you know that you're disciplined enough to carry on your art education on your own, then like you said, you don't need to spend that money on a formal one, or you can save money and go, there are plenty of community colleges that offer some degrees like graphic design, communication design, and they're good for the fundamentals. You can always go and take a class in a college instead of taking the full degree to supplement what you don't know, right?
Yeah, I totally agree. And it's just, university just wasn't for me. I made some amazing friends and everything there, but it was mainly the party lifestyle for me. I'm going to be totally honest. I just wasn't, um, I don't know. If I went now to university, I think my education would be totally different. I'd probably go to a lot more lectures and meet a lot more professors and stuff like that. But I don't think I went to university at the right time, and I totally don't think you need an art degree to become a successful artist. Like, I totally don't agree with that. But I do think education is important, and the way I got to where I am today is through self-education and still learning and developing my skills in other ways rather than just my degree, if that makes sense.
Yeah, totally. And like you said, I feel like now more than ever is the time for, that gives people that freedom and that amazing ability to learn independently and to get careers independently, thanks to things like social media
Yeah.
and the internet has come so far.
Definitely. There's so much like obviously back in the day, I sound like an old woman. Back in the day, but it just wasn't as accessible, and university was probably absolutely amazing if you didn't have access to all this information about developing style, characters, and do you know what I mean? That professors had to go to the university and teach, and they had books and things like that. Whereas now we can literally find all of that information online through artists we love. We can even reach out to artists we love, where that never really used to be a possibility either. So it's crazy, it's amazing, and people should definitely utilize the internet if they can get access to it as much as they can, really.
Definitely, I agree. And so after school, and I actually know a little bit of your story because I did watch your YouTube video about it. So, straight out of school, I know that you didn't get a job in art right away. So, when was it that you kind of started dipping your toes in the possibility of an art career?
So I would say again, it was about 3 years ago, and even so, it's not like I have a career with someone else. It was my own kind of business. So I seen it as a business. I seen myself as a business and my style as a business. But I wouldn't say, if you go back and look at my work 3 years ago, it definitely wasn't ready to, be a big audience based business. Whereas now I'm slowly starting to change the way I do things, and my style has developed, and my branding's got a lot stronger over the years. And I feel like now I'm at that stage where I can say it is my career, but it's my own career. I'm not working under someone. I did work and still do work as a client for a local company doing, obviously, like I said, reception work, and I did their graphic design, the social media marketing, and stuff like that. And I also worked in retail in a supermarket for 7 years while I was at university and stuff. And I really think working in retail and just getting a normal job really helps your customer service skills. Like, I honestly think my supermarket job really helped how I communicate with customers now. Because I used to work on like the checkouts, I used to stock shelves, I seen how their back stock worked, and I don't know, that really, really gave me a lot of valuable information. So if I had to say to anyone out there, I wouldn't worry if you haven't got a job in art right now, but you're planning on having to. The job you have will serve you in some way in the future if you're planning on having your own business or Etsy store. It definitely will help in the future. So, yeah.
No, that's actually a really interesting perspective that I hadn't heard because that is completely true. I feel like, especially customer service jobs, serve you a lot if your goal is to end up owning your own business.
Mhm.
Because I myself, right now, am working a 9 to 5, working in business, but I work in an e commerce store for nothing glamorous. My team sells like fire pits and gas logs.
Yeah, but it
But
will, yeah.
yeah, like you said, those are skills that transfer, and I guaranteed no matter what job you're working at right now, or even if you don't have a job and you're a student in high school or in college, all the skills you're learning in whatever current situation you are, guaranteed will transfer in one way or another.
Yeah, I totally agree. Honestly, like my retail job, I worked in a fridge section, I stacked yogurts all day, but we had to do reductions to get rid of old stock, and just how they
Mm-hmm.
laid it out, it was like a huge supermarket actually. But yeah, I just worked for them and I've learned so much. Like, and I worked with them for 7 years where I funded, obviously, my life. And honestly, I would not change it for the world. Like, there's a Steve Jobs quote about something like you can't connect the dots looking forward, you can only connect the dots looking back. And everything that I've done to lead me up so far, I can't believe how much it's actually served me in a way and made me grow to be the person I am today and be able to do the things I've done today, if that makes sense. So, yeah, I definitely wouldn't change anything. Working in retail was great. It wasn't actually great at the time, but looking back on it, it was great.
Yeah, and there's this podcast I listen to called "Don't Keep Your Day Job." I'm always mentioning it on this podcast. Um, but one quote she is always saying that connects to the Steve Jobs quote you said is that you only get clarity through action. You know,
Yeah,
everything you do kind of gives you more clarity on what you want to do.
yeah,
So you wouldn't know that you didn't like, for example, retail, or let's say you wouldn't know you didn't like owning a brick and mortar store unless you worked at one.
yeah,
And
totally agree.
you wouldn't have known that you didn't like graphic design unless you had gone to that graphic design major, right?
Exactly. That's exactly
And exactly. And I feel like in life, you kind of have to take these risks about, I don't know if I'll like this or not, or I don't know if I'll be good at it or not. And it goes hand in hand with art. You won't know unless you try. And the more things you try, the more things you learn, and the more perspective you get on yourself. All these experiences we have will serve you either way, regardless of whether or not you're in art right now.
Exactly. It actually works opposite as well. I have people who thought they wanted to be artists and freelancers that went and did it and they realized they weren't happy because they enjoyed it as something to relax with and stuff like that. So it actually works the opposite. It's no matter what you do in life, it's true either way.
Exactly. That's why I think it's important for people who want to become artists to be very active in doing whatever kind of art they think they want to do. Because, like you said, it could end up being that you want to be an illustrator and you actually hate doing illustration full time. But how would you know that unless you tried it, right?
Exactly, exactly. And everyone's in such a rush to get to the goal. Like, what is the rush? You've got your whole life. There's no, like, what happens if you say tomorrow you had this dream, you wanted to be a successful children's book illustrator? Say in a year, someone said to me, right, you're going to do it. Then what? Like, what's the rush? Keep experimenting, finding what like makes you happy, makes your soul happy, and it could change over time. I'm slowly changing. Like today, I had a really good idea for a book, and I'm like, maybe I could get into writing. So I started Googling, like, J.K. Rowling, what did she major in? Do I need to be good at English to be a good writer? And, like all this stuff, it's always changing. Don't be in a rush to reach your goals, whether it's an art or whatever. Just keep experimenting and having fun with your life, basically.
Definitely. Like you said, I'm very guilty of being in that rush
Yeah.
because sometimes when you're in the situation you're in and it's not a situation you ideally think you belong in, you just want to rush into the next stage.
Yeah.
But you're completely right. I feel like it's very important to live in the moment, appreciate whatever your current situation has to offer, and dedicate your spare time to the things that matter to you. It's very important if you're currently, like in my position, you're at a 9 to 5 desk job and you don't want to be there. Well, you need to dedicate your spare time to getting you to a place where you do want to be, doing little things that will slowly propel you forward. But like you said, nothing is instant and there's no rush. No matter how old you are, you have plenty of time to do whatever it is you want to do. You just have to make the time for it.
Exactly. And it's just one of those things as well. Like a lot of people say, oh, they're like 30 odd and they're saying, oh, I really want to be an artist. And I'm like, you're already saying it as if it's never going to happen. You like you're in your 30s. That's crazy. You've got so much more of your time. Like look at some of the big look at J.K. Rowling, another example. I absolutely love Harry Potter. I'm such a huge Harry Potter fan. But
Oh, me
she
too.
didn't see success like until later in life. Like there is literally no rush, there's no time. Just keep doing things that make you happy. And obviously, you're not going to have a job that's going to be like, oh my God, this is amazing. When I was stacking shelves, I wasn't like, oh my God, this is amazing. But like we said earlier, it will all make sense. Like it will come to serve you in the end. Just keep working towards your dreams, and your dreams might change, and keep working towards them too. So, yeah.
That's totally sound advice for both artists and non-artists alike. And so going back, you have your own business, which is amazing. I've always admired the idea of kind of being your own boss and being in control of kind of your own time and your own products. But how did you transition into that? Because like you said before, you weren't always working for yourself full time. So what steps did you take in order to make that a reality?
So I only went full time this January.
Mhm.
So, like I say, I worked at a local company, and my office and my studio that I'm sat in right now is actually really close to where I used to work. And I had a really nice boss, to be fair. So I feel like I was given a really, really lucky hand. And I then went to work for him full time, and did the graphic design, social media marketing. And as I built Catnip up I would build Catnip up. During my spare time, so after hours, so on a night time, on weekends, I would start building it up, building my Etsy store up, my inventory, and I started by selling custom portraits. And then I kind of sold to friends and family. Then about a year later, I started to see, regular customers coming back. I was getting more sales on my Etsy store. It was making about half of what I made in my full-time job. So then I asked to go part-time with my boss, and he said yes. He was very, very kind. So last year I worked full-time. So last Christmas, I worked part-time, on my Etsy store, but there was a lot of orders in, and I was very, very stressed last Christmas, because Christmas is a very busy time for Etsy in general, especially if you sell
Mhm.
cute kind of items that people want to gift and stuff like that. And I sold a lot of portraits and custom mugs and stuff then as well. So I struggled last year, and I had to sit down with my fiance Dean and said to him, I'm really, really struggling. I'm struggling to balance everything. I'm not having a great time here. Like I'm really panicking. So he said to me, why don't you try going full time in January? And I basically did. And I approached my boss, and I was very lucky because he still wanted to keep me on freelance. So I approached him and gave him an offer. I was so worried when I first did it, but I basically just said, listen, like, I've got this business. I never kept it quiet for him. I always told him, I always kept him updated on how it was going. And I just said, I can still work for you and still provide everything that I've been providing for you in the office, but I would like to go freelance. So my hours are more flexible and things like that. And he said yes, and I still have him as a client now. And that's how I became freelance. And then in January, I just had so much more time and energy to dedicate to my store. And that is where I've seen a huge growth. This year is where I've seen a huge growth, not only in my Etsy store, but also in my creativity as well. It's just been completely through the roof. So I have to say I'm quite lucky in my circumstances. Not everyone may have like a boss as nice as him, because it was nice to have that financial backup of him being a client, if that makes sense.
Mhm.
Now I could probably completely go at it alone with the money that I'm earning. But he is such a kind friend as well. I've kept him on, and obviously I still want to see his business grow, so I still work for him as well, just basically because he's a friend. But yeah, so I would say really this year is when I took the plunge into full-time creativity, I would say.
Well, that's amazing. And that kind of also ties into what we said earlier. What you did was you took action.
Mhm.
Even though you were working your other job, you dedicated your weekends and your nights to it.
Yeah, for a
And
full year as well. I was very burnt out
yeah,
by the end, but it was worth it. Like we said, like I really wanted to do it. I didn't know how it was going to work. I just did it and I started. I made a logo. I put my first product out there, started selling it, and slowly it grows. Slowly products change. Right now, I'm going through a little bit of a change at my Etsy store, starting to think, what can I change? And best, you become better and you become more efficient, and that's basically what happened. And I worked full time for a full year and did that on the side. Then I worked part time and did the weekends again for another full year. So there was 2 years of still, going to a place of work and hustling basically. And then this January is when I got to go completely out on my own. It was an amazing feeling. Very, very good feeling.
yeah, I was so happy for you when that happened because I've kind of seen that transition as it's gone along, and it's very encouraging as a follower of you on Instagram and YouTube to see that because it's kind of made it more believable for people like me to see like there's normal people out there who are doing this, they're still working their full-time jobs and they're still dedicating time to their own stuff and they can totally make it. Like it takes patience certainly, but I feel like the patience is worth it and pays off for you to be building kind of your own personal empire instead of building somebody else's dream.
Definitely. And to be honest, what I used to do when I worked full time anyway, all I used to do was go home and binge Netflix and watch anime, and play games. And I still do that now, but I dedicated an hour or two every night just to doing those things. And that is what paid off. It's kind of like this law of attraction thing. Like it comes back to you. And all the work you put in eventually pays off. It's very strange because you know what's really weird? I used to listen to these podcasts before I even had my business name,
Mhm.
these style of podcasts, and listen to these inspiring women and men out there who've done the same thing as I've now done. And it's really weird when I put it into perspective like that because I'm like, hang on a second, I've made it. Like, I've done it. I've went full time. That's exactly what I want to do. I'm getting a little bit emotional. Like, oh my god! Like, I've actually done what I said I was going to do, and I'm full time artist. And sometimes you have to pinch yourself. And I just want to tell anyone out there who's listening that I had the same thoughts. If you don't have a business now, or if you are just starting in business or whatever, I had the same thoughts you did. I was listening to podcasts, but as long as you consume yourself and develop your skills and keep learning and keep creating and trying to better yourself and really take a look at your products and everything you're doing and thinking, how can I improve it? What do the customers want? You will get there, and yeah, you'll be able to go full time and be amazing.
Totally. And I feel like that's one of the reasons I wanted to start this podcast because there is no shortage of stories like you, and I feel like people need to hear them because the more you hear other people talk about how possible it is, I feel like the more you can believe it is possible for yourself.
Yeah, it's like reinforcing the belief that, hang on, you can do it. Like, if you look at all the huge entrepreneurs, like, I'm by no means a huge entrepreneur or anything like that, but I'm just having a really little happy life over here, creating a life that I love. But if you look at all the big entrepreneurs, they were just normal people as well. Okay, there might be exceptions where they were born into a millionaire family, but the majority of them out there weren't, and it's amazing. So you don't just look at it from an art side, like don't just look at artists, also take inspiration from business owners that are completely different to your field of work but are passionate about another product or another career. You don't have to just focus on the art side of life, you can also focus on just entrepreneurship in general. And just, I don't know, I think entrepreneurs are quite creative naturally anyway to get where they are, the problem solvers. And I don't know, it's really inspiring, I think. And like consistently reinforcing it by listening to podcasts and consuming yourself in like amazing inspirational stories 100% helps. I used to listen to that all the time. YouTube, podcasts, quit your day job on Etsy series, everything, blog posts. I just used to read as much as possible and then believe that you can do it too. And eventually you will.
That's totally good. And actually, while we're on that topic, what are some of your podcasts to listen to that kind of have that message?
So, there's so many. So, I really like to listen to a variety of ones. Like I say, I don't just listen to art ones or
Mm-hmm.
entrepreneurial ones. So, I think there's one called Optimal Living Daily, and he reads blog posts daily about how to improve your life and everything like that. There's a Tony Robbins podcast, which is obviously a lot of people will have heard of Tony Robbins. There's the Creative Pep Talk by Andy J. Pizza, I think it
My
is.
favorite.
Yeah, he's so fun to listen to. I think he has ADHD, does he not? Or
Mm-hmm, he does.
yeah, and he brings such character and fun perspective to like the creative life. I love listening to him. He's so funny. Who else do I listen to? Philosophy. I like listening to philosophy podcasts, like Philosophize This, and
Mm.
basically just like entrepreneurial podcasts that you can find on like Spotify or iTunes. All of them. They're all amazing. I just like to get a big group of them, all about self-improvement and things like that, not just in art but in general.
Yeah, I've actually been getting into that too. And also, I'm not sure if you listened to this one, but it's a good one to add if you're kind of interested in kind of a podcast like the one I'm doing where it's interviews about with other artists. They're mainly illustrators. It's called The Art Side of Life. Have you heard of it by any
Oh
chance?
yeah, I love the outside of life. I watch them on YouTube, so I listen to
Mhm.
them as a podcast, but through YouTube. I absolutely love her. She's amazing. She interviews all sorts of people as well. It's great, like all sorts of artists. I love her actually, but I recently discovered her. But yeah, definitely recommend that.
Yeah, so she's on YouTube, and also if you just want to listen and not watch, because she does it over Skype, so you can see the other people. But if you just want to listen, she's available on the major podcasting apps as well.
Well, I didn't know that, I'm gonna have to subscribe to her on Spotify. I've been just logging on to YouTube and listening to her like a podcast. So yeah, I'm definitely going to go on that and subscribe to her because she's brilliant.
Yes, I completely agree. And so, with all of this, you listen to a lot of other people and you kind of absorb their teachings and stuff. And I feel like some people do that with you and your YouTube and your Instagram stories and stuff. And you have a pretty loyal following that loves your stuff, high engagement. And I'm sure the people listening are wondering, how did you kind of build that audience, and did you have an audience when you were starting off doing your business and transitioning?
Oh, that's amazing. Honestly, when you say it like that, it makes me so emotional because I've just been myself. Like, I've just been me. I've been goofy. I've put myself out there. I've shared what I like. I've connected with people who like the same things as me. And I've just grew. There's obviously the technical side of growing a following, like hashtags and content creation. But honestly, I have just put out there the best content I can, and I've just tried to stay as true to myself as possible. Like, literally, I'm always worried about coming across as fake because it's something I never want to do. I just want to be my honest self. So I always go to my close friends and family and I show them my YouTube channel and stuff like that. And they're like, you're totally just being 100% yourself. Because I'm actually quite goofy and a bit of a nerd. And I try and just want to be like a friend to everyone. And I feel like they feel that as well. And I can feel that hopefully. I don't even know where I'm trying to go with this. Hopefully, they can see that I'm trying to be their friend, and then they can be my friend, and then they kind of just support me. And I'm just so amazed that people want to support me. Actually, I'm still in a bit of a shock about it, but I would just say, just be your honest self, like just, and then people will connect with you because they'll be relatable to you, if that makes sense. Like they'll be able to relate to you. And I think that's how it kind of grew. I just was myself. Like, I don't know. Yeah.
Yeah, no, that makes sense. It's I'm sure you've heard it a lot, and a lot of people listening to this, if you listen to other podcasts, you'll hear the word authentic a lot. And I feel like it is very important for you to be as authentic to yourself as possible, because the people who kind of follow your work and follow you, they can, you can tell when people are kind of trying to be someone else. And as cheesy as it sounds, why bother spending time trying to pretend to be someone else when being yourself is perfectly fine? So many people in your life already like you for who you are, and that's not any different for your potential followers.
Oh,
And at the end of the day, followers are kind of extensions of like online friends you're meeting that have same interests as you, and they like the same art as you. If they like your art, they probably like the same aesthetics you like. And if you think about it like that, I feel like it's much easier. If you think of building a following as just how can I, meet more people that I can be friends with, I feel like it's kind of the same.
yeah, oh, it's so the same. It's just completely amazing as well. Like, there's so many people who send me like Instagram messages. Like, I try my inbox at the minute is just going crazy. So I like to try and reply to all of them, but I can't at the moment. I'm really struggling. But when people message me, they're like, "Oh, I've seen this film," or say I posted a video of like a anime I watched, and then I'd have loads of people messaging me saying, "You should really try this. Like, you'd really like this." And the kind of I feel like they know who I am. They're actually recommending things to me that I genuinely would like. So I feel like I've accomplished getting my personality across and getting who I am across, because my followers have connected, but they also like the same sort of stuff as well. So if I wanted any recommendations, for example, I would ask my followers, because I know that they like the similar sort of thing as me. So, and I've made genuine real life friends through Instagram. Which is amazing. I'm actually meeting up with them next week, and I went to anyone who follows my YouTube channel will see that I went to London with Rosie, and I met
Mm.
her online. I met her through Instagram as a creative, and a lot of people say network, genuine networking, and it really, really is true. I have got some real life friends who I meet up regularly with, and that is all through Instagram. It's amazing. I love it. Thank you, Instagram gods, for that.
I agree. I've kind of started to get back into Instagram on the art side, and that's kind of what I'm doing too. I'm commenting on people's work that I like. I'm trying to reach out to people who I genuinely feel like I can make a connection with,
Yeah,
and I feel like that's just the way to go. If you don't want to you want to be yourself on social media when gathering a following, because you want to attract people like you. The more you
exactly.
act like someone else, the more likely you're going to attract maybe not the right fit of people, like not necessarily wrong people, but people that might not resonate completely with your work, which is why I think there's such an emphasis nowadays with being authentic online, because it
Yeah,
affects everything.
definitely, but don't forget about the marketing aspect as well, especially if you're going to open your own art business. Like, you still have
Mhm.
to remember that marketing is very, very important. And sometimes you want to keep back, a lot of people can overshare as well.
Oh,
Like, so,
yeah.
like, I myself, and I think, especially with artists, a lot of their personality goes into the work, and you can see their personality in their work. Like, so you do kind of project your personality on that type of business, like an art business. But I'd be careful about exactly how much you're sharing about your personal self. Like, to be fair, I post quite a lot. Like, I share a lot of my personal selves, but I tend not to share like super, super. Could you hear that? It was my stomach rumbling. I tend not. Sorry about that. I tend
Don't
not to
worry.
share things like, deeply personal that I don't know, just it's still like a marketing platform for you, but also make friends, business friends, connections, and then yeah. And I think serving other people as well, listening to what your customers want. So I looked at what post worked really well on Instagram, and it always was sketchbook posts, like just
Ooh,
raw images of sketchbook pictures that I've
yeah.
been doodling. So then I started utilizing that and I started posting more of that because that's what people wanted to see. So also kind of listen to what your audience wants, even if it's a really small audience. Say you had a photo that got maybe 10 likes and your rest got 2 likes, then start posting more of the things that got you 10 likes. But then also don't strip yourself back so much that none of your personality goes into it. So don't just be like, I'm going to post this because it gets loads of likes. Do it if you like doing it, if that makes sense. If you hate posting those type of pictures, then obviously don't do that. But I would still say look at it from a marketing perspective as well as a networking and friendship perspective. And that's kind of how I got to where I am today. It's still growing, and hopefully I'm still going to learn different techniques and skills to reach more people. So yeah.
Yeah. And do you have any favorite marketing strategies?
Um, No. I don't, I just kind of try and do the best content I can. Like, I try and take gorgeous images, I try and keep on brand as much as possible. So, lots of pastel colours and things that really resonate with me. That's probably my marketing tactic is probably just being myself and trying to create the most beautiful, prettiest pictures that make people smile. Like, that definitely is probably my main goal in life, is to just make people smile. When you see something really cute and you kind of just have that little smile on your face, and even for a second it cheers you up. That is my goal in life. I would love to make people smile.
Yeah, and that's I feel like really important for anyone who's looking to do something like this. What message would you like to express with your art and your business, and make sure that your posts follow that, you know?
Yeah.
It's hard to achieve a goal if you don't really know what it is. So it's nice to hear people like you have a very clear goal in mind. You want your art to make people smile, so I feel like that helps you keep on track to make sure that you're making posts that correlate with that.
Yeah, exactly. I don't tend to go off track from that. A lot of the stuff I do, it either makes them smile, makes them happy, makes them laugh, or it's just something beautiful. Like, I don't know. But yeah, so that's my goal basically. Make things that are happy, that are smiley, and just kind of, I want to reach other people like me, and I want them to feel like they've got someone they can relate to. So that's what I tend to do, and that's my marketing strategy. Not really a marketing strategy, but that's how I go about my marketing.
Oh, it's totally a marketing strategy. I I kind of work very closely with the marketing team in my company, and that is totally kind of what marketing strategies are. It's very much in its like simplest form is what are you trying to communicate with your audience, and make sure that what you're putting out there correlates with that, because when you kind of go off brand for certain posts, it confuses people, and it's worse off for people who are just starting to follow you, because consistency is key. They need to know what to expect from you. So it's very good to form a strong idea of what you want to put out there and do your best to stick to it. It doesn't have to be like one thing. You don't have to always be drawing, let's say, whales. If you're known for your whale art, you don't have to just post whales. You
Yeah.
just have to be consistent in something, whether it's your style or whether it's your message
Yeah, just
or
I would say message and voice is probably what you could be is the most important with your brand. It's not necessarily what you draw or what you create.
mhm.
It's your voice as an artist or a product maker or an entrepreneur, your voice and your like what you're trying to communicate. That is definitely what you want to try and keep. So mine's always I want people to smile, I want them to be happy, and I want them to find cute stuff and be able to buy cute stuff that makes them smile when they look at it for even just a second. So that's my voice, and I never ever want that to go away with my brand Katnipp. If I wanted to create a new brand where it was say more dark and moody, not that I don't think I ever could make a brand like that because it would be very inauthentic. But say I wanted to, I wouldn't bring that into Katnipp. I would keep my voice true to Katnipp, if that makes sense.
Completely. It's very consistency is key. You want to make sure everything looks and sounds like it belongs to the same person or
Yeah,
thing, right?
that's it.
And so, are there any exciting projects or is there anything that you're like excited to start doing with your brand or your products?
I'm really just excited to see where next year takes me because I've illustrated a book for a small publishing house, and that will be released this month actually. But it's
Wow.
it was kind of commissioned by the author, if that makes sense. It's a very, very strange situation. But I took the commission when I was inexperienced and kind of wanted the experience for that. So it would be amazing to see if I could maybe illustrate another book, or and I'm also really excited to see what new products will come in my Etsy store, how it will grow and kind of like develop. Like my store has changed so much since last year, and then even more so since the first year. So I'm really, really just excited for the year ahead. Like Christmas is always kind of the wrap up of the year for me, and then it's a fresh new start in January. So I'm super excited just for the new products that are coming, the new collections that are coming as well, and some new characters which will be shown very, very soon.
Ooh, that's so exciting. Do you have any ideas for like new products either that you have planned or maybe new products that you would love to make?
Yeah, so I really want to get into stationery. So I am a stationery lover. So on the horizon, there might be some washi tapes coming.
Mm.
It's very, very early stages, so I can't say yet. But in January and next year, that's the goal, is to get kind of maybe washi tapes, maybe some notebooks, and things like that. So I'm very excited. And I also want to start making character ranges. So I don't know if you've seen, but I have Pudding, the pumpkin dog.
Yes, I love him.
Yeah, so Pudding is now becoming his own thing. Like, he's going to have his own logo, and you're going to be able to buy from his collection, and he'll be a seasonal product. So the snowman pudding's coming very soon, and then in spring there'll be a spring one, and then in summer there'll be a summer one, and then it'll be fun to see like him in different outfits, like PJs and stuff like that. I'm really, really excited to see him grow. And then also Catnip, my character, the one with pink hair, who's basically me in comic form. I really want to start
Mhm.
doing more comics of her, bringing out some zines, bringing out some emojis and sticker sets with her face on. So it's kind of next year. My goal is collections, if that makes sense, of different characters. So I'm really, really excited for next year. And then hopefully stationery, washi tapes primarily. I really want to get into washi tapes, and maybe things like in the very, very far future, I would love to get into things like PJs and pajamas and um, socks and cozy stuff like that, and jumpers and
Yes.
clothing. So, but that is more on the later end of things because this studio would not be able to cope with that amount of product in it. It's very small.
Yeah, that's so exciting. Oh, I'm especially excited for stationery because I am also a stationery freak, and I'm actually thinking that in my far future as well, I would love to do stationery. Like, if you came over to my place and you saw my desk is literally three drawers of Japanese letter sets and memo pages.
That sounds amazing.
I can't stop. And then the other thing is that I'm like, oh my god, they're too pretty to use. So
Yeah.
I have drawers of them. Like my boyfriend was like, please don't buy more unless you use some of it. And I'm like, oh,
It's so
okay.
hard to use them though, isn't it? Like I had this sticker sheet that was so pretty and I just couldn't peel the first sticker off. I was like, come on, you can do it. Peel that first sticker off. But I couldn't bring myself. It's still in my drawer as well. I haven't peeled the first sticker off. It's just too pretty. I don't want to ruin it.
So, actually, as a kid, were you one of those kids that also had all these stickers and you were always afraid to use them?
Yeah, weird thing, I didn't like putting stickers on objects. I just liked them nice and neat on the paper. So I just used to
Mm-hmm.
collect stickers. Like I just didn't use them. We used to get sticker books, so like children's books with stickers in, but I never
Mm-hmm.
used to want to take the stickers off, like because the stickers were too pretty. Like once you've took that first sticker off, that's it. You've ruined it. Like it's gone. But I have started using like I've got a planner now, and I've started to get into planning, and it's kind of like a little tiny mini hobby. And when I do my to-do list, I stick stickers on. I've actually asked Santa for Fran Nerd's planner this year, so hopefully I'll
Ooh.
be able to have her stickers and planner for next year. But I have started to use stickers, especially since I started making stickers myself. So I'm already halfway there with stationery. But yeah, now I started to use them, but I have still got this one sticker set. I don't even know who it's by. I think I got it from a convention or something, and I still haven't broke into it. I can't bring myself to break into it yet.
Man, you know what you should do if you really like that sticker set and you possibly bought it at a convention, you should try posting a picture of it on your Instagram stories and seeing if any of your followers know who it's by.
That's a good idea. I might.
Yeah,
Yeah,
because I
that's
have that problem too. I've bought things from conventions where they don't put their watermark anything, and it's really sad because when you're in a convention, you see like hundreds of products. So
uh,
when you get home, you're like, oh my god, I love this thing, and I don't know where to get more of it.
yeah, happens all the time because I do a lot of conventions every year. Like, I don't just sell, like, I go as a customer. Like, I absolutely love comic conventions. And I buy so much stuff, and there's so many artists who forget to put the business card with the piece of art. And
Mm-hmm.
I'm like, who is this? Who's this? And they forget to, like, put the logo on. So, little tip for anyone out there if you're going to do conventions or anything, make sure you put your logo or your web address or whatever on your stationery or on your art prints, or put a business card in the back of your art print or something so we know where to find you. I've got this set of 3 prints in my office back at home, my second bedroom, and I still don't know who's done them, but they're beautiful. They're literally beautiful. So,
Yeah, that's a really good tip. Even when you have a web store, like I've had ish, so I'm a chronic online shopper. I'm always buying art prints and stickers and little things from people's stores. And I've actually ran into the case a few times where I open a package and maybe I just like got into that artist and I'm like, wait, who is this? Because they don't put their name on anything and there's no business card. It's like,
important, very important. You want people to remember you as well. If they just stumble on you and say like Etsy or something, and it was like an impulse purchase, they're less likely to remember you. But if you put like a little goodie in there or a little business card that's really cute with your business name on, then they're going to remember you and tag you
yeah,
on Instagram. Put your Instagram handle or your social media handle on, because if they really love the product, they'll probably share it on like the stories or something, and then they'll tag you in it if you have put your address on it. So yes, definitely do that.
very, very important tip.
Mhm.
And I guess since we're kind of reaching the end, I love to ask this one fun question to all my guests. So, everybody that has seen your art knows that you are a pink fanatic
Mhm.
and you love your pastels and everything. But what is a color or a color palette that you never really use in your art, but you do love?
So I really, really like very soft desaturated oranges with browns and reds. Like so like an
Ooh.
autumn colour palette, mustards and kind of like cozy, warm, autumny feel. I would say that
Mm-hmm.
probably.
Yeah, and which you did get to use a little bit of it for your dog Pudding, right? That's
Yeah,
the
I used him
dog's
for
name.
pudding. So yeah, I have actually used him. But yeah, things like browns, I very, very rarely use browns. In fact,
Yeah.
I can't think of the last time I used browns in my artwork. But there's some beautiful. I think. Have you heard of Tara Knight?
Yes, I love her.
Yeah, she uses a lot of earthly, deep colours. And yeah, like a colour palette like that, very earthy kind of colours are beautiful. Like, I love that. But they just don't go with me or my style. Like, when I naturally, sit down to draw, I don't draw with those colours naturally. I don't know, it just doesn't come naturally to me, but I still can appreciate how amazing and gorgeous they look. And some of my favourite artists use those type of earthly colour palettes. So yeah.
Yeah. Oh man, I can totally see it working though. I feel like browns especially look so cute with pinks.
Yeah, browns and pinks
Something to
are
think
really nice.
about.
Orange and pink is a really nice colour together, really strangely. It's very, very nice.
Yeah, it's funny because I feel like there's such a stereotype. We can thank the 90s and early 2000s for this, where everyone's like, pink and orange they clash. And I'm like, I feel like people don't understand what clashing colors actually means.
Yeah. It, clashing colours can sometimes be amazing as well, like pink and red. So like a really soft pink with like very, very vibrant red. I think that colour palette is amazing. Same with pink and deep blue. That is a major
Mm,
clash of colours. But if you get the right shade of pink with a kind of bluey undertone, they work amazing.
I
Like,
know.
really amazing. So get experimental. I love all colours actually. Thank you everyone for colour in my life.
I'm totally with you, especially it's funny, you and I seem to really like the same color palettes
Yeah.
because I love me a good blue, I like navy blue and pink a lot.
Yeah, navy blue and pink. Like
They're
all
pretty.
pink everywhere, anytime. But then with contrasting, like, yeah, deep blue goes so nice. And green surprisingly goes really nice with like a kind of warm pink. I've seen that in
Oh, yes.
interior decor actually. That goes really, really well as well. And oh, yeah, love it. Lilac and deep blue, that goes gorgeous.
Mhm.
Colours. Mm.
Oh man, it was so much fun talking to you today. I feel like you shared a lot of really, really good insight for those people who might be worried about transitioning into art because maybe their current situations has nothing to do with art. I feel like you shared a lot of really good nuggets of information and like encouraging things for to motivate them. So thank you so much for just joining us and giving your insight in your creative life.
Oh, thank you so much. It's so crazy. I hope someone has got some sort of inspiration from this. But yeah, thank you so much for having me. I'm very honoured that you wanted me to be on here. So, yay.
No, and thank you for agreeing to come on. But for those of them out there who may not have seen your work, where can they find you?
So they can find me over on Instagram at Katnipp Illustrations. Let me say that again. So they can find me over on Instagram at Katnipp Illustrations. That's spelled Katnipp Illustration. And they can also find me on YouTube if they search Katnipp Illustration because I've started to get into YouTube. I'm also on Facebook, but I don't use Facebook as much anymore. So
Mhm.
Instagram and YouTube, come over and say hi. And I also have a website, catnip.com.
Awesome. And for anyone interested in clickable links, you will definitely be able to find those down in the show notes or on the website. But yeah, thank you again so much for giving us your time and your bubbly personality. It was so much fun talking to you.
Thank you.
Guys, did I or did I not tell you were just gonna fall in love with her? She as a person is just so encouraging and sweet and inspiring, and she really does make me feel like anyone can be a full-time artist if they work at it. And that's just such an incredible gift she has apart from her art. So, what can we learn from Catherine today? I have some 3 takeaways for you. Your current work experience, no matter how unrelated you think it is from art, can serve you in the future. Did you work at a grocery store? Well, then guess what? You have customer service experience, and that totally helps you out when you start your own shop, if that's what you want to do. 2, if you're working a day job and you want to transition to your own business, maybe start dedicating small time daily to work on it. The way Catherine achieved her full-time business was by dedicating 1 hour daily at the end of the day when she had a day job. That's totally doable. You can do it. I can do it. We all have an hour in the evening. So why don't you just dedicate it to developing something for the future? It doesn't even have to be an hour. It can be 30 minutes, but just make it a very productive time for you to move forward. And 3, constantly consume inspiring and positive content. This positive mindset is key to sticking through the hard times and accomplishing your goals. This is especially key for creatives. We tend to get down on ourselves and our art and our work, and we think we can't do it and we can't make it to our goals. But definitely do your best to stay positive and just give it time and patience, and you will get there. Well, guys, I hope you really liked this episode. It was a really nice one for me to record. Sorry about the audio. If you noticed, it was a little weird. Had some technical difficulties. My mic wasn't working, but I think it still sounded pretty good. So, if you really liked this episode, one thing you can do is subscribe to the podcast. You can do that on any of the podcast listening apps that you're using to listen to me. You can subscribe to any podcast listening app you're using right now. That can be iTunes, Google Play, Stitcher, Spotify, even YouTube. And another thing you can do is leave a review for the show. It really helps me out. It helps the podcast get found and seen by other artists around the world, and it helps us build this community and spread this inspiring message that all these artists have to share. If you want to follow the podcast and what's happening, maybe even get sneak peeks into like future guests and stuff like that, definitely follow me on Instagram at the Art Journey Pod. You can also check out the website, which is theartjourneypodcast.com. And if you want to see my own personal work, check me out on Instagram at Alex Agosto. That's spelled ALEKSAGOSTO. And I also have a website, alexagosto.com. So I know that was a lot, but I really hope you had a great time here with us today. And definitely stay inspired, keep working, and I will see you again next time. Bye.